Hello everyone, welcome along, welcome back. Nigel here, Nigel's Modelling Bench. What are we today? We are on Sunday, January the 5th, 2019. Thanks for tuning in, thanks for sticking with me on this one. And hope you like what you see, and if you don't, then please tell me. And if you do, then tell your friends. Right, where did we get to last time? I got all this painted up. So we've got this SCC 15 olive green colour here, or drab colour, which is correct for this period of vehicle, which is like 42, 43, 43 or later basically. And then we've got our wheels all painted up here, and if you remember, we did all our test fit and everything, so now everything should just go together like a breeze. And then once we've actually got these wheels and tyres put together like this, that's this section finished, this whole page is finished, we can turn the page and start getting on with some other stuff. So I'm looking here now, and all these parts have got individual numbers, but I can assure you they're all the same. So what we can do is just take them all off the sprues, and we're looking on here, and we can see that on the inside of here we've got ejector pin marks, and some of them are proud, so we're going to have to deal with them. So that could be quite a laborious thing. So I'll cut these off the sprues now, get rid of those ejector pin marks, and then I'll come back. Right, so that's all done now, that's all cleared up. And now with my hard, flat nail sanding stick from Tesco's, I'm just going to quickly go over these faces and just make sure there's no big problems with any lumps and bumps or anything on them. And if you notice, I haven't actually cleaned up the sprue nibs. There's no point, because once this is all glued together, you're going to have a seam to deal with, and those sprue nubs will be on that seam. So it's not, it's just a waste of time doing them now. And I also want to take this opportunity, guys. I want to thank everybody really big time. It seems like only a couple of days ago I was being congratulated for hitting 500 subscribers, and now I'm on 600. So yeah, and I know that it was certainly around Christmas time, so it is about a week. So if things keep going like that, then, you know, really chuffed. And thanks guys, thanks for all your comments, thanks for subscribing. If you're linking my stuff to other sites, then thanks for that, and if you're telling your friends and sharing, then thanks for that too. And it's what it's all about. It's all about sharing the knowledge and giving people a start off in this hobby. It's a great hobby. It's not you know, it's not comparatively expensive. It can be if you get a bit daft, but you know, you have to sort of consider some other hobbies are a lot more expensive. And of course, the other beauty of this one is you're at home. So if you've got parents that worry about where you are, or a partner that worries about you being out of the house or whatever, or misses you when you're gone, you know, this one you can stay at home. So right, we've got to get these wheels and tyres together now. So what I want to do, just blow that off, is just plonk that wheel in there like that, and then put another tyre half on the back and push them together. And this is where all that work paid off. Remember all the work I did earlier, making sure everything fits and goes together nicely? It's now fitting lovely, and now the wheel and tyre looks great. You can't see any grey plastic, there's no paint being scratched off. It just looks fluff on there, it just looks lovely. So that's what you want to try and aim for. So now we've got that together, I can just look at that and make sure there's no major gap, so I can just get on and glue it together. Now if you notice on here, we've got each tyre has got the same tread. All the parts are the same. If you remember earlier, I just nipped them all off the sprue and I said I know they're all the same. You'll find a lot of modern kits, they will take something like this and they will all be part number 23, say. So you'll have 8 or 10 tyre halves and they will all be part 23, they're all the same. In the olden days with the likes of Airfix and stuff, every single part was individually numbered. So that's why every wheel, every centre, every wheel back and every tyre half has got an individual number. It's just the way they used to do it. It's done differently these days. So yeah, what I was saying was about this tread, wasn't it? Now, I'm not sure of the accuracy of this tread, but all I do know is that if this was a Jeep with the cross-country tyres on it. These, you can see you've got these undercuts in the tread here. Well, they would be opposite a flat, so having them like that would be incorrect. You want to aim for having them like that. Now, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I think I'm correct in saying that. In fact, what I'll just go and check the references and see. Yeah, I've had a quick look. I can't see anything with tyres like this referenced on there. But basically what I'm going to do, I'm going to go for having these ribs like that, so they're staggered. And that's how like an all-terrain or cross-country tyre would be on a Jeep, say. So what I'll do now, making sure I'm not holding the seam. If you hold this like this and then put the glue in, the glue will go around the joint and then go under your fingers and spread out and ruin the part. So you need to make sure, when you're using this Tamiya extra thin, you need to make sure your fingers are well away from any seam. And that then will go around there. What I'm going to do is brush it all the way around and then let that go off. And then what we can do is go onto the, we can turn the page and start looking at the next part. So I can just squeeze those together now. And there we go. I don't think I need any pegs on there. And that's that. So I'll get these all done now and then I'll be back. Right, there we go. We can see now that the wheels are all glued together and all been held together with pegs. Unfortunately, they did need that. So let's get those off to one side and they can all go dry now. They can all dry out. I need to do some more painting work on this, but I want this to fully dry. Probably do that off camera actually and then come back and show you how I did it. So let's move over the instructions now. So we've finished now step 2, it's all done. Obviously other than the painting. So now we need to look at, because what we can start thinking about now, you see, is I can go on and do this, and this is going to need painting, some of this, before I fit it onto the floor pan of the car. And also I'm going to have to paint the inside of the chassis here. So basically, while I'm doing all this, the paint on here can be drying, and while I'm doing that, I can paint the bottom and that can be drying. So there's always something for you to be, you know, carrying on with, rather than just sitting and waiting for paint to dry all the time. So let's start looking at these seats now. Again, I'll go over the large number in the circle is the part number, and then the smaller number without a circle is the paint number. So you can see on here it's telling us 30 for the rear seat, 30 for the seat frames, and 26 for the actual seats themselves. So we go to the back of the instructions. 30 is matte dark green. There's no 26 on there, and it's telling us, it was saying these are number 11, which we can see on here is silver. Now you don't have to use these Humble paints, you can use any make of paints you want. I would recommend, if you're doing brush paint, I would recommend Revell, which are available pretty much anywhere in any Hobbycraft or anything if you're in the UK. So yeah, I'd recommend Revell, use that, and you can't go far wrong really. And I think what they're saying here is this rear seat is going to be, if you're old, like me, or if you're into older vehicles, you know, that green leather colour. If you look it up anywhere, you'll see aircraft seats were like it, car seats. There was this sort of standard green leather colour. It was a little bit darker than that. So that's obviously what we're looking for on the rear seat. And the front seats, it says 26, and it's not actually in here. So we get one of these. This is an old Humble paint guide where you can look online, and we can see here that 26 is matte khaki. So that will be equivalent to which colour is it? 59. There we go. Khaki drab. That's XF51 in the Tamiya. You can see it's not far off the actual colour of the car itself. And then you could also mix colours as well. You could do it, you know, all kinds of different browns and stuff. Doesn't really matter. So we need to get these parts off the sprue and look at getting these up together. So if I get the sprue, there's none of it on that one. What have we got here? Yeah, there's none of it on that one. Haha, here we go. Now we've got lots here. So we've got the two front seats. So we've got 53 and 56. And they look identical. One's got a shorter foot there. Can you see that in that picture? This one here has got one leg shorter than those. And it looks like it might have actually been snapped off in the mould. So I might have to do some remedial work there or whatever, so we'll cover that. But other than that, they're the same. And the seat frames, are here. We can see they're all the same. So what we'll do is we'll cut these off the sprue. Again, if you don't have little nippers like I've got, and I don't mean small children, I mean these, then you'll have to cut it off with a knife, which is quite easy to do. I'll show you how I do that. I'm on my cutting mat. This sprue's flat, so there's no real problem. Just go up near the part, use the knife and cut. Cut down, cut down. Okay, and the same on this one here. I'm just going to use the knife on that part there. There we go. So that's those four off. And then we've got these seats. So we've got the rear seat here. And then these two front seats. And then there's a seat back. Which is part 49. Which I don't appear to have. There it is, it's loose in the bottom of the box. So there we go. So now we've got all our parts. So we've got our 4 seat frames, 2 front seats, 1 rear seat and a seat back. So we need to get these assembled up together. So first of all, we're going to remove the sprue nibs with our cutters. Like so. Nope, that's a pin. That's not a sprue nib. It's one of the things you need to be careful of. Like you can see on here, there's no pin on this face here with the lump on the top, so you can safely remove that. But that there, that's not a sprue nib, that's a pin. So you want to leave that on there. And those pins go into the floor. And then these bits here actually go up into the seat. So we'll get our little sanding stick. I'll use my little floor, in fact I'll get the bigger one. There we go. And just sand away our sprue nibs, like so. It's a good idea to get the finished parts out of the way so you don't cover them in sanding dust. You'll also see that somebody commented on the last one talking about washing your hands properly and everything, and then washing the parts again if you've handled them. I've been modelling for 49 years. I've been using acrylic paints for probably, I don't know, 25, 30 years. And I've never had a problem with handling parts without gloves or having the paint sticking. The thing is, it's not like you're building a vehicle that's going to go out in the weather and have to, you know, take wear and tear and stuff. It's a model that's going to be built and then it's going to be put on a display or sat on a shelf and looked at. So the paint doesn't have to be particularly hard wearing, and acrylic paint isn't particularly hard wearing whatever you do with it. But you don't need to worry about washing your model after you've built it, just because you've been handling it without gloves on. Something I would suggest is a quick wipe over when you finish the model at the body, like on these wheel arches. I would probably wipe them over with some alcohol or something, which is basically what you use to clean your brushes, or some brush cleaner or something. Don't use cellulose thinners, because you'll obviously damage the plastic. It's got a great big screw nub on this one, so I'm just going to remove that with a blade first. You can see this one will be the same. See this great big nub on here. So I'm just going to remove that like that. And as I said before, I'm cutting into myself. It's not good. I'm not going to worry about cleaning it up too much because we're after that sort of rough effect there. I'm not sure if I like that effect they've given on that seat. Let's just sand this off. This one actually broke off the sprue, so I haven't done any cutting on this one. And that is actually not straight, so I get my nice hard one, this hard sander, and just go across the bottom like so. Now on the top there we've got a, if you can see it, there's quite a nasty mould seam, so I'm just going to go over the edge of that and take that away. And then now this is going to go up in the back of here. I'm assuming it goes like that. Yeah, so that's going to sit up inside there. It's not the best fit in the world, and that's warped, so it needs straightening out. But yeah, it looks like that's going to sit up inside there like so. So there we go, that's that in there. Just going to sand some material off of here. Looks a lot more aggressive than it really is, I can assure you. Just to try and improve that edge a bit, try and get it to fit slightly better. That's the thing with these old Airfix kits. They you know, they're great old models, but they do need a bit of TLC, a bit of tender loving care, because the moulds are getting on now. And the thing is, back in the day when these were made, modelling wasn't what it is now. Modelling was a kind of not so much an adult hobby as it is today when I was a youngster. There we go, I put plenty of glue in there because it's a poor fit and I want to make sure it stays together. I'm not sure that any of this is actually going to be seen. I think it's just the back of the boot, isn't it? So there we go. Now you can see I've got a bit of a gap down there. Now if I put plenty of extra thin in there, this is the beauty again of liquid cement, I should be able to push this together rather than push it apart. Getting glue on my fingers now. Oops. Yeah, that's going to need some filler. Because I'm looking at it now and it looks like the back seat sits up over the rear, so you are going to see it. Now, another thing I'm not over the moon with on this model is this pattern on these seats. It almost looks like wrinkled tissue paper, and I think it's supposed to be depicting like a leather material. And I mean, if this was green leather, it probably would have been quilted. So what I'm going to do with my sanding stick, I'm just going to take the top off I'm not sanding it all the way, I'm just literally taking the top off. There's a big bit of flash on the end of there as well that I missed. So I just want to take the top off just to make it a bit less obvious, a bit less pronounced. So that's a bit smoother now. And then what I can do to make it a softer appearance, I could take my extra thin and just brush it on like so, and that will actually smooth out the surface to give it a slightly, you'll see it now because it will start to get shiny. And what that will do, that will give it a slightly sort of ruffled finish rather than that sort of wet tissue paper look. There we go. Liquid cement can be used for a lot of stuff, like for example if you're doing a tank and you want to give the turret a cast. A lot of tanks have cast turrets, you want to give it the cast appearance, you can do this. You can wet it like that and then just keep doing that. And as it starts to dry, you'll see that I start to get, just keep going, see it's starting to dry, and I will start to get like a cast metal finish on there. There we go, it's getting really sticky now. And there you go, you see you got like a cast, forget the ripples behind it, that's from in the plastic, but if it was a smooth surface, you got this cast finish on there now. So that's always a good one to do, and if you go over the top or you don't like it, look at that, you can just get rid of it straight away. Gone. Yeah. So another little tip for you there, guys. Right, so that's a bit better on there, I think. Right, so that's all done now. We've done those seats, and they're in fact what I will do is just remove, there's like a bit of a ridge in there, you can see. I'm just going to cut that off, get that pulled back out of the way. There we go. And then just brush over that with some extra thin, and that will be gone. There we go, that ridge is gone. So I think the front seats would have been canvas and the rear seat would have been leather, but who knows. Right, so now I've just looked, and these parts here, these seat frames, actually go into the seat like this. They go either side of those lugs, so the fact that one of those lugs is shorter doesn't matter at all. So they go in like that, and then you'll see that I can fit that. That will then fit into the floor panel. Sorry, that one's fallen out because it doesn't want to stay in. Okay, so if I need to try and keep it vertical, then it keeps falling out. But you will see that the seat actually fits into those holes there in the floor pan. And there's also, you'll spot there's ejector pin marks on here, which I'm not going to worry about removing, because once they go in here they can't be seen once they're in the seat. So I'm not going to worry about that at all. So I'm just going to put them in there and put a bit of glue on, and then the same on the other side. Put a bit of glue on, and now they're glued in. You can see what I'm on about. They will just go into those holes there like that and sit on the floor like that. Very nice. It's almost to scale by the look of it. So let's just put this other one in. But you can see from this video that, you know, if you take your time and you put a bit extra bit of work in, even a really old Airfix model like this can turn into a, you know, quite a nice model. You know, it's an old kit, bit of work, quite a nice model. And just check that fits in those holes, and it does. Give it a little nudge down. What I'm doing now is just pushing the seat down to make sure that I haven't got them in, you know, like on an angle or something. If one was like that and one was like that, they wouldn't sit flat on the floor. So I can just hold that down like that, make sure it's all square that way, and then that's that. And I've just noticed I've got some flash on the bottom corner of that seat there. Just get rid of that. Just fit that in there again, and yep, that fits lovely. I'll put the other one in just so I can show you. There we go. How's that? Lovely. So that's those two done. Now this rear seat here, that's going to fit in like that, and that is a very good fit. That pushes in and stays there on its own. We can see that's lovely. Very, very nice. Just need to nudge down there, that's it. Okay, so that goes in there lovely, like that. So we know that's going to fit okay. I've still got that plastic flange around the edge there. It's hardly flash, it's a massive flange. So we can just sand that and get rid of that. Let's get one of my bigger, this is a bigger, softer sanding stick. It's one of the floory ones again. And it's good for like doing soft corners and stuff. No good for square edges because it will always give you a round, a radiused corner. Okay, now I'm just going to put a knife at the back of there. You can see what's happened here. That's sunk in the middle. So what I'm going to do is push that out with the knife so I can make sure it doesn't go sinking in again. Another thing you can do there, you can take an old piece of sprue or something. I've got something here slim enough really. Got nothing here which is slim enough. What you could use is a cocktail stick. I know what I use, a scrap of plastic. Okay, so I've got a scrap of plastic here. Use an old piece of sprue or anything, and I'm just going to make sure I get it to the right width. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just cut that off, drop that into the hole like that, and then I'll use my tweezers to push that in. Just wedge that in there like that. Yeah, give another little nudge. And then put some extra thin in there to keep it in place. There we go. And now that will support that and stop it sinking again in the middle. A little tip for you. It's a shame they didn't put like a ledge there for the part to go against. But that's going to need some filler, which is going to mean me putting this down again and letting it dry. So that's that in there. Now normally I would let this dry fully before I started putting anything on it, but for this camera I've got to do some filling first. Right, so we've got, this is what I use. This is Tamiya's basic putty. Now there is a minefield out there of different fillers, and I'll show you another one that you can use. Is this one, this Vallejo plastic putty, or there's all sorts of different companies make this plastic putty, and it's like a white, yeah, it's dried up, it's like a white paste, and the beauty of it is you can put it on, let it dry, and then get a cotton bud and water and wipe it off. The problem with it is it's water based, so it doesn't stick. If you put it on a surface like that, it's likely to just come off. So I like to use the Tamiya putty, or you've got the Revell contactor putty. There's sort of anything that comes in a tube like this generally is a, you know, it says on here, you see, flammable liquid contains organic solvents. What it will do, it's not good for the environment, it's not good to smell, whereas this stuff is not so dangerous for the environment or anything. But the trouble with it is, it's very much just like tile grout. It won't actually grab into the plastic or bite into the plastic, it just sits on top of it. So if, for instance, you put some on here, you could probably just rub it off, even after it's dried. So I tend to use this Tamiya plastic putty here. And I've got a spatula, you can use a knife or anything, you could make some of this with an old knife blade. And I just put some on like that. That's that done. And then I can literally just apply that on there. Now I've put too much on here, but that's not a problem. In fact, I haven't put too much on because I'm going to need more on the sides. Drop more. And you must remember when you're putting this on, you must remember it's going to shrink back. So you always want to put a little bit too much on if you can. Sorry, I'm working off the camera there, guys. If I was, I'm not going to edit it out, because what I've discovered in the past, if I edit the bit out where I'm working off the camera, I lose the thread of what I was saying. And I may have said something while I was off camera that sort of links two sentences together. It's a bit like saying, you know, instead of saying I went to the shop, they had a special deal on the beer, I did a special deal on the beer and I bought some and tried it and it was really nice. Almost like saying I went to the shop, it was really nice. You know, it's pretty meaningless drivel, like most things I say, I guess. Okay, so there we go, and I'm making sure that I keep the filler away from that edge there, because that edge there is going to set up against this part here. So there we go. So that's that done. Now that is going to have to be left for, I don't know, 3 hours to go. You will notice within minutes that it starts to skin. I would tend to leave it for at least 3 hours before I start rubbing it down. But as I say, guys, I mean, this one here, health and safety wise, it's wonderful. I mean, I'll show you what it's like. I've got a bit of sprue I can put some on. It's very similar to use, but it's water based. And if I just show you something, I'll show you what the difference is. So I'll rub that out quite thin. Right, so what I wanted to show you was this this filler. So we've got on the right, we've got the Tamiya filler, which is the grey one, and on the left we've got the Vallejo, which is the white one. And as I say, this is a solvent based filler, and this is the Vallejo water based filler. So if I just snap this off, make it a bit easier to handle. Oh, that doesn't want to snap, does it? Right, so this is just a piece of Airfix sprue. So if I get that in there, you can see that on there, and if I rub it, you can see that I'm actually quite struggling to get it off because it's really, really bonded on, and it's actually attacked the plastic. It's starting to lift the plastic underneath. So what it's done, it's actually become part of the plastic. Whereas with this Vallejo water-based stuff, watch, it just rubs off, and it's made no difference to the plastic whatsoever. So it doesn't actually attack the plastic, it just goes on. So I mean, I've rubbed some of the paint off there, but I can do that here, look. So yeah, it basically just, it doesn't adhere very well to the plastic at all. So yeah, if you're filling in a crack or something, it'll fill down inside the crack, but you'll always be able to see the crack because it's not actually part of the plastic. Whereas with the Tamiya one, as you can see, it's become part of the plastic. Yeah, and now that it's been on there, I can actually, you can see I can dig that in and take the plastic off, whereas with this one I can't. Okay, so there we go. So right, thanks very much for watching. I don't know what this was. Was this part 4 or 5? I don't know, part 6. I'll have edited it. I'll know what it's called by the time I've edited it, because the last one will be the number previous to this one. So sorry about that, guys. So yeah, I've got to leave this now to dry for a couple of days, well, a couple of hours, and get that rubbed down. And then what I'll probably do is get it primed up, and then I'll come back to you with the primer, and then show you some brush painting and stuff on this chassis. All right, so I'll see you all soon. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.